fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Fuel, the podcast for fixing underperformance and evolving leadership within the automotive industry. Fuel is bringing you the latest in proven strategies and techniques that can take your service department to the next level.
All righty. So welcome back to the Fuel Podcast. I'm here back once again, Mr. Grogan and Mr. Demaree. How we doing today, guys?
Good. I think me and Bill are vying for co-host positions. I think he's got me beat by one though, so he's in the lead.
I'm gonna sit back this week, James. It's all you.
No, don't you dare. So
listen,
great.
I'm very susceptible to bribes. So anything that we want to bring on for that co-host spot, I mean, hey, we'll see who comes in first.
What about threats? Just bribes?
Just bribes.
I'm sorry, the connection got a little staticky there. I don't know what just happened.
I've got the Indy 500 up my sleeve, so
there you go.
that's a woo. I'll be looking for that one. So perfect. Well, guys, hey, thank you coming back on the podcast. As we kind of been going over some different topics and some different things, the biggest thing that's been kind of going on in the industry as I'm talking to people and as I'm kind of working through them is, they're always asking me, where are our struggles? Can you help us identify our struggles? Can you help us identify, how we can empower people to maybe become better leaders, and start, really taking this information or taking what we're learning in some of the stuff we go over and really start to take it on their own and start making it more theirs, and then being able to lead people with that and take on more responsibility. So, I mean, I think the biggest question, and Bill, I'll kind of jump into it with you, how do you define, like, when you're talking to somebody, or if you were talking to somebody about engagement of leadership, right? How would you help somebody along engaging and empowering their people for more leadership?
yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think it's something as an industry. Sometimes we struggle. Sometimes we think, "Hey, I'm just a manager," and really, you can't be just a manager. You have to be a leader, and a leader is a guy that is going to coach, going to show the process, do the process, and has to be, kind of ingrained in it. It's one thing to go out and point and direct and tell, and you should do this and you should do that, but you need to roll your sleeves up and be a part of the solution, and that's getting in front of it and showing that you're not too good or not too big to go do the same job. And I think being a good leader is going to start with that. And then it goes into the coaching of understanding. I was telling a service advisor this morning, I'm filling in one of our stores, and they started bringing me all their stuff. And I say, don't bring me your monkeys. I got enough. So bring me solutions. And I want to hear your solution. What would you do if you were me in that situation? And it's funny, they smile and they said, nobody's ever asked me that. Hence why we don't have a manager in the store anymore. But I want them to, really solve their own problems. And I think a good leader will empower them to make those decisions, and then they become, a better leader in their own little space.
James, I mean, from your standpoint, doing the VP of client success, senior VP of client success in Dynatron, does it fall along the same lines of kind of what Bill's talking about with how he's kind of perceiving leadership, or is it a little bit different from your perspective on your end?
No, I think that's a great start. My biggest thing too with leadership is, people have to know you care. As Theodore Roosevelt says, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. Right. And I think that's a big part of leadership because, you're stretching, you're challenging, like Bill says, right? Don't bring me your monkeys, bring me your solutions. And people have to know that they're in a spot where they can bring you an idea. And even if that idea is probably not the best, you're not going to chastise them. You're not going to make them feel stupid, that you legitimately care about their growth. And so for me, caring and that stretching, that challenging, I think all of that directly falls into leadership, right? I think we have this misconception that a leader stands back and tells people, well, go do this. And really, that's not it. A leader empowers their people to make decisions and to really be the best they can be.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest misconception from people trying to understand leadership and understand what my role is and things of that nature would be communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you said, empowering people, like Bill said, empowering people to be part of the process and bring their ideas, like James says, letting them know that you care, letting you know that their opinion matters to you. I think, clearly establishing, the why of what we're doing is probably sometimes missed in some of the mixture of communication, right? They have their perception of what you're trying to get to, but you're over here trying to do something else, and that's where it kind of gets mixed up. And then you start, well, you have to do this or you have to do it that way, and then that's where it can kind of be combative and kind of recess on that. So when you're talking about these leadership things, so Bill, we'll go back to you. We're talking about some of these leadership things. How do you start laying that out to your team as you're starting to lead them? Like, what's your process you're kind of working through?
Yeah, and it's a great example of the store that I'm in now. We're talking about communication is like number one. And if there's a lack of communication, there's a lack of documented process. You can't hold anybody accountable if they don't have a documented process or even a job description of what they're doing. So if you start, I like to, we call it IDSing in the EOS world. So I start IDSing lists. I have a list on a wall of, I've identified issues, we call them opportunities, and then we just document those down, and then you solicit help. You solicit the team. Hey, here's the opportunity. Here's what's going on. Now we've identified it, so let's discuss, maybe a solution of how we can get through this. And it's always the we. It's not I. This is not my, responsibility. It's our responsibility. And then as we're discussing it, and then I give them a slip that says, all right, so tell me what's working and what's not working. Now the EOS thing, but this is working great. And boss, this is terrible. So list all those down. So then we've identified a problem. We're discussing the problem. And the number one key thing is we're going to solve these problems. And when we solve them, they go away forever, because to solve them, you've got a documented process. Everybody understands the outcome. They understand what we're trying to accomplish, and they were a big part of it. So now it's our process. It's our style. It's our store. And then the buy-in is incredible. And I've had individuals coming to me today. Like I said, I moved in this store a week ago today. And the excitement that the team has on accountability, I'm bringing a lot of accountability, and they're excited about it because they feel like they haven't got it. They didn't have the direction. They didn't have the leadership. I'm out here parking cars in the morning and pulling them around and running through the car wash system. They're like, holy crap. I thought you were the manager sitting in the office over there. And it's, and I think that's key, is you just gotta involve the team, and communication is usually the problem. It's just the communications broke down.
So James, is that kind of like what you see in your aspect too? Or is it your process possibly a little bit different?
No, I think Bill hit it right on the head. I little retrospect, I look back and I go, every time I tried to do something as a leader and it failed, there's a common denominator. One, I tried to implement something without getting the team buy-in, and it's, guys, this is what we're going to do, right? Two, I never communicated the vision behind why that change needed to happen. So one, having the bigger vision, having the understanding of, where are we going together as a team, right? We're going from A to B. Okay, well, what's B? Two, okay, guys, how do we get there, right? So, referencing EOS 90, right? Your IDS is like, guys, from get to A to B, here are all the things stopping us. Cool. How do we together come to a resolution? Because once again, a leader's job isn't to fix all the problems. A leader's job is to educate, motivate, and lift his people up enough so that they're autonomous. They have autonomy to fix them themselves, right? So, looking back, it's all about communication. It's all about vision. And if you can master those, I think you save, one, a lot of frustration, a lot of time and effort. But two, I think you're on path to really building a great team. So,
well, yeah, I mean, making people part of the process is always something that's either misconstrued or misunderstood as far as where they're coming along in it. And I think the more we can empower our team to not have to fit in a box, to not have to find the blueprint. Yeah, there's a foundation. There's some core goals that we need to be able to understand and to be able to follow, but not putting you in a box. Like I love the fact that you want to give back to the team for innovation. What worked, what didn't work.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? And then I love how, don't bring me your monkeys. I still like that. Don't bring me your monkeys, and that's just you're interested in what I have to say. I think that's a big aspect of leadership, to where, like James said again, to assess that I care first, and that your opinion does matter, regardless of if you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's an opinion, it matters, and it's something we're going to take into consideration.
Yeah, I think it's tough at first, because when you do that, a lot of people go, well, wait a minute, you're telling me to deal with it. You're supposed to be the leader. And you have to communicate to them that, hey, listen, I trust you. Okay, you're on the team, which means you're here for a reason, right? That means we value you, we trust you. So, who better to know how to handle a frontline situation than the people on the front line? So, yes, you might have an issue, but how would you resolve it?
Yeah.
Right now, that not to say there aren't some things that obviously the leadership needs to get involved when it comes to, if there's customer related things. But does that mean we need to make the decision on every single one? No. Hey, Mrs. Jones came in, this happened, this is what I'm going to do. And then once you say yes enough times, people know the parameters that they can stay within. And plus having a documented process, right? And if it's not documented and there's no process, then we have nothing to measure. And so everything should have some sort of process to where we can go A, B, C, D, check mark. Yes, we did everything right. Right. Or A, B, C. Oh, we missed C. Okay, guys, let's come back together. Right. And let's communicate. Why do we need C? What's the vision behind it? Let's go do it.
I think the other thing too is to really focus on actively listening. One thing I have a bad habit sometimes is somebody comes at me really fast and I'm in the middle of something, and I'm listening. Yeah. Stop what you're doing. They're extremely important, and actively look at them, take a breath, and listen. And I have to remind myself that a lot of times that I just need to have a seat. Let's talk about this versus shoo, get away. I've got other stuff to do, and just slow down, breathe before you respond, and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, I
My wife
mean,
catches me by my beard, because you're working through the day, right? And we're trying to be big, we're trying to get stuff done, and she comes in and hey, blah blah blah, and I'm like, and before she even finishes the sentence, I've already given her an answer, and she'll grab my beard and go, "You're not listening," and it's like a check of like, "You're 100% right. Can you give me either stop right there, or hey, can you give me 5 minutes?" And then I'm all yours, right? And so
That's why I shaved my beard. I don't have one anymore, so they
yeah, I immediately thought of the tug on the beard of like, hey. And I think, but I think it's right, because you can't tell people you care about them and that you value them, and then when they come to you, you finish their sentence and rush them out the door, because then they're going to go, and that's, and it's that, what is it? Listen to understand, and not instead of reply. Yeah, listen to understand instead of listening to reply.
Yeah.
And I think any leader at any stage, that is a constant decision. And some days you're better than others. We're all human.
Yeah, I remember watching a movie and the guy was talking one guy was talking to another person. He's like, "Yeah, you listening to me, but you ain't hearing me."
Yeah, that's right.
You ain't hearing me, man. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely relate to the aspect of what James was kind of bringing up, and Bill. I have this mentor of mine, and every time I bring something to his attention, he always says, "Well, what do you think? Well, what would you do?" And then he always kind of comes back with this other aspect of, "Well, look at it this way." And that guy is on this podcast. Every time I talk to James, every time because he helps me out a ton, who helped me working through some stuff. But every time it's like, "Hey, I got this, man. What do you got? What do you think?" And I'm like, "Here we go."
Yeah.
And so, but it's allowed me to innovate. It's allowed people to do that. And I've done that more and more, talking to people, not just showing them, not just say, "Well, go here and just do this." It's like leading them to that. So, Bill, back to your process, right? When you're coming into the store like you're coming into now, right? And I wouldn't say your store is struggling, or would you say the store is struggling, or?
Yeah, this store is, financially it looks great. Process, it's not. It is a store of lots of opportunity, we'll say.
So perfect. So I mean, let's switch into that. We got leadership into struggle now, right? So as you go into a store that's struggling and you're bringing into the leadership mindset of now I'm going to introduce this process. How do you kind of keep that process flowing and not intimidating?
Yeah, the first thing I started doing is mandatory early before we open 15-minute morning huddles with the service advisor team. And included in there is the shop foreman that was never invited to these meetings, and having a shop foreman in there. So guys, what kind of struggles are you having today with customers that he needs to know about? So Trent all said, "Nope, I better get a pen. I better get a piece of paper and write it down." So now he's part of the morning routine process. And so that's step one. Now we have an open communication between the advisors and the guy that's out in the shop all day. And then taking him, Trent, and saying, okay, Trent, what's your process? Well, I don't really have one. Okay. So do me a favor, bullet point exactly what you do all day, besides pick up a fire extinguisher and run around the shop. What do you do? So when I evaluate what he's doing all day, then we start prioritizing what's really important. What can we get the most out of having this leader in the shop? Well, he's required to turn hours. So he's a working shop foreman. I have found in past that just simply doesn't work. And the only reason we're doing it is we're trying to recover money, unapplied, hide stuff. And the value of that is nothing because we're spending more on issues that are coming out of the shop versus allowing a guy like him use his talent to run, coach, and lead the shop. So effective June 1st, he now has a desk station out there with a computer, with the inspections, with every car, with UVI, every car. So he stands into the express lane and he's going to coach and team with all the express techs. And then we have team leads in the shop that are now going to be true team leads because they have a job description that tells them exactly what they're going to do. So in a nutshell, I'm taking people that are in a leadership role and helping them become a better leader in their role and get their monkeys off. You know, these guys need to fix their own vehicles and I don't need you to test drive cars for them. They need to test drive their own vehicles. I need the team leads to dispatch correctly. And if there's a problem, let's sit down and talk about the problem. If there's a comeback, let's address every single one of them while it's happening. Not next week, not later down the road, right now. What happened? And then we're going to IDS it and we're going to find out what happened so it never happens again. And it's bite-sized because this is a big monster shop. But I think if we get our arms around those little things, 75% of everything else will just fall into place. It's pretty
Perfect.
simple.
So, well, I mean, yeah, it's pretty simple, right? You just give them a desk and computer, everything falls into place.
It's all fixed.
So, I mean, James, as you start to, I mean, in your experiences, you know, in the dealership world and in you know, now into, you know, the software world and working with customers, you know, when you see struggle either, you know, with internally with our teams and things of that nature or externally with customers that we're trying to help out, I mean, is it kind of the same mentality again that Bill's following along, or is there a little bit different process with addressing the struggle and then implementing the process?
No, I think from the high level, it's the same. The first thing is communication, bridging the gap, right? Because there's that constant friction sometimes between the advisors, the technicians, service, parts, the front end, service, right? And you have all these different people or teams that are focused on their production, but forget that they're part of a bigger picture. And it's the same way in any other business, right? You have teams that become an island, not knowingly they become an island, forgetting that, no, we're part of a larger community. So one, the communication between the teams and how every team affects everyone else. Right? It's a domino effect. Two, expectations and priorities. You can't be successful. And this is, take automotive out. I think you could put this in any industry. You can't be successful if one, you don't know what success looks like. Two, and you don't have a clear path how to get there. Right? So understanding, okay, guys, here's what success looks like for you. And here's the path we're going to go. Much like Bill said with the shop foreman, right? Here's what success looks like for him. Well, we're not going to get there with the way he currently was. So we had to redefine what that role was. But now we've clearly defined it to where every day he comes in, there's a clear responsibility, a clear path of action. And now it's just, we've echoed EOS 90 a bunch of this, but I'm going to add one more time, right? Get it, want it. And does they have the capacity, right? Because once you've clearly defined what success is and how to get there, now it's just a matter of, did we give our team the necessary tools to do it? And does the team want to do it? Right? People process.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it's interesting. And I would say this to you. I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
And I think some of it is getting the team to really, truly understand the why.
Yeah.
And an example here, I used this awesome software tool that I have called IBIS, and it's a Dynatron Roam software. And I ran an opcode analysis for the whole store on our pricing structure over the last 2 years, worked with our coach, Marty, spent 2 hours on the phone with him and said, where are we weak on pricing? This is a department that lost $24,875 last month. I want this recovered quickly. I think our prices are low, our ELR is low, and I don't think the team gets it. So we did a complete analysis, spent 2 hours. I documented, bullet pointed what we're going to do. I stayed after that evening, which was Tuesday night, had kind of a huddle with the advisors and said, guys, I want to give you a fair warning. There's going to be significant price increases coming like really soon. Oh my gosh, we're already overcharging. It's horrible. This is Subaru. We can't charge that much. And I'm like, guys, that's not correct. We are the lowest oil change in the region because I just did the study this morning, and the ELR hasn't gone up in 3 years during COVID when ELRs went up skyrocketing. So there's going to be significant price increases. Oh, we just can't do that. So let me ask you a question. Are you overpaid? And of course, well, no, we're not overpaid. We don't like our pay plan, but we're not overpaid. I said, okay, so you're not overpaid, but we're overcharging our customers' prices too high. And we lost $24,875 last month. So last month I went down the hallway. I knocked on one door. His name was Jeff Wood. And I said, Jeff, I need a check for $24,875 to cover the bills that Tom Wood Subaru overspent by paying their employees and not collecting enough on the customers. Are you good with that? And he was not, which is why I'm here. So the question again is going to be, would you like to have a pay cut for $24,875, or would you like for me to increase the prices so we can at least get fair market value to at least get average? And we don't want to be average because we know what average is. Average is the exact point where suck starts. Yep. Don't be average. So we're just going to get there and then we'll grow from there. So price increase happened. But once they looked at me when they said, we lost $24,875, and that's not going to continue. So I promise you, we're going to raise our prices to a fair market value. We're going to increase our OLP because our OLP is terrible. We will increase our prices in the OLP, and we're not going to be average because average sucks. And they get it. They came into
interesting.
Yeah, they just get it because they now understand it.
Yeah.
I would be
to say it like real quick. I just like, why is the perception of your value so hard to understand in the automotive world?
Yeah.
Why can't people see themselves as valuable if that's what they do? And that's I'm so glad that they're getting that and understanding that. I do a lot now is getting to understand if we give away $1, it takes $100 to recoup that, and so it really does. It's mind boggling, and to the point where that these people can be so disconnected with their value, and understanding their value. Are you worth it, or are you not worth it?
You know what they hear? All they see is the money we collect. Oh my gosh, you must be just putting banks of money in the bank. But when you show them this department did not last month, then I think it opens their eyes.
I was going to say the fact that, I would be curious if you took 100 dealers just randomly across the nation and you walked in, pulled the service advisors off the drive and say, hey, how much money did the service department make last month?
No
idea. I would bet less than 10% even no. And I think it's so important that, one, sharing the wins, two, but when there's a struggle, like you said, we lost 24th, right? All of us, right? And guys, we have to do this, right? It just brings everything back into this is where we're going, and we're going to go together, one way or the other, right? But being able to have that conversation, frank, honest, upfront, and let people understand why we're doing this. To me, because most people would just go, "Hey, we're raising the price." Well, why? We got to make more money. But to go, hey, because we lost 24, or to even go, hey guys, think about how busy everyone was last month, right? Well, we only made $10,000.
Yeah.
So think about all the madness, right? And we only did, guys, we got to get better, right? So I think that was definitely an important thing, is letting them understand, because we all want to celebrate the wins, but I think from a leadership level, sometimes we're very scared to bring the negative. But when it's done in a place of like a team, and guys, we're going to get there together and we're going to give you the tools, you have to communicate that.
One of the things I thought was pretty comical, I've been trying to find the used car manager. I can't seem to find him. So I've been looking, I said, where's this used car? I can't find him. Guess who was in my office this morning when he saw the price increase? He's like, hey, are you Bill Demaree? I said, yeah, how you doing? Great. I said, that's who you are. I said, yeah. I said, price increase? Yes, sir.
Yep.
Well, again, I mean, it takes it back to like empowerment, and even empowerment of technology, right? Being able to utilize software, being able to utilize things to put in front of your team to get them to understand profitability. It's not just sell the job in some points. Sometimes it is, but it's understanding, like if we have to make a move, or if you don't follow this why, and to get to what we're trying to do, it can make a dramatic impact. And so a lot of people that I've been talking to are starting to teach their advisors as if this was their own dealership,
Yeah.
getting to understand profitability standpoints. And when you give away money, what does that do? What does that impact? Yeah, I know you're going to hit your number this month. You're going to get your commission this month. Yeah, but you lost 10% in gross profitability. So therefore, it don't help us, and we're not moving together. And so the more and more they're bringing things like in technology, using the tools that Dynatron has, that I've been working with people and using reports and showing them daily, what they're closing, what their gross profit percentages are. They start to get an aspect of understanding, where they can work with the customer, where they need to really stand on their price or think outside of the box on appeasing a customer who's looking for a discount in some aspect. So, as you're doing this and as you're training your team, what are some of the technologies that are helping, I would say, a struggling store? What are some of the technologies that we can utilize to maybe help a struggling store to kind of get them a better market presence or a better communication relationship and understanding, opportunity with customers?
Yeah, and I think technology is our best friend. There's so much data out there, but if you're focusing on the value of a customer, you're focusing on the value of every hour possibility that comes in the shop. Media, I'm big 94.3% media on ASR. In our closing ratio, we have to be a minimum 35% closing on every ASR. If we attach a media to it, it will happen, and that's worth a lot of money. So if we just track the data, follow our points, and say, I looked at, again, I did an EBIS report, said, hey, I wonder how many balances we did with our tire rotations here besides none. And I run how many tire rotations we did. It was 789. And I look at that and say, I wonder what the value of a balance would be. Guys, what do you think about doing a tire balance? Do a what if scenario of how much that's going to be worth at the end of the year. Oh, it's $175,000 in gross profit. I think we want to start doing balances. And it's the value of something that we're not doing that we should be doing. We should be offering the balances, and just, I think, really fine tuning. I think, finding the little wins here and there, and those little wins just add up and add up and add up, and share it and get them to understand why, and their effective labor rate is important. Get them to understand why their closing ratio should be above 35%. And if you back into those numbers and share with them, and what I like to do in the morning meetings is they have to share with me. I don't share with them. I don't do much talking. I ask them, you need to know how many alignments you've sold. I need to know, I have this checklist, what's your OLP, how many UVI shares did you have, how many alignments did you sold, what are you tracking, what's your coupon expense, what's your gross, what are you tracking, what's your ELR, and they have to feed that to me. Why? Because I want them in the tools, and I purposely do it in 3 different tools, so they have to log in the morning when they get here and pull the data. Then I know they're actually in there, how many open hours you have and which ones are aged. And they just document that stuff. And if they have to report it, they're going to fix it, and they'll stay on top of that type of a data. So the tools, I couldn't run a store without tools. I was called a referral from one of your companies. I think it's launched the Rome's products. It said, how many Rome's products do you have? I said, besides every store? I don't know what your question is. I wouldn't have a store without it. So how can you operate a store without having data to understand what's really going on, unless you want to do old school and pull 1,000 ROs and look at every line and try to calculate it yourself? And I don't think you have time for that. The value of the manager is worth more than trying to calculate how many one-line ROs I have. Oh, and how many miles are on it, and how many opportunities did I have that I didn't do. So, man, we are a gold mine because we have tools. Back in my day, when I wrote servers, we didn't have these tools. I'd be making $1 million. I was advisor today, compared to, back in my day, we didn't have computers, but remember them, James?
Yeah. I remember handwriting and, different copies. I think when you think about technology, we were talking, in fact, we were visiting another dealer group last week, and I was talking with them. I go, it's funny. The business of automotive hasn't changed. It has changed. Sell cars, you service them, buy parts. Like, that's been around forever. What technology has done, though, is it's allowed us to do it much more efficiently and effectively. And I think from a technology standpoint, you look at it from a leadership level, right? Being able to see the data efficiently and then know how to make the effective changes. And I think then you take that down, you go down a step to your technicians, your advisors. The technology should make their job more efficient and help them be more effective. So the things like the media, the UVI, the multi-points, things like that, they, once again, when they have the vision and they know what the goal is, and then understanding how that technology is going to make their life easier getting to the goal, I think that's when they really start to embrace the technology, right? Because we all know we've all installed technology in a dealership before, and the first thing they think about is what? It's just another thing. But if they understand what the vision is, and hey, we're doing this because once again, we got to get from A to B. And right now it's taking you 15 steps. Well, if we do this, it'll only take you 10. And now all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe I'll give it a shot, right? And then they see the success, they see the effectiveness of it, then they buy in. And same thing with management, right? You get another reporting system, you get another layer of data, and it's about how do we make you more efficient? How do we make your day more efficient to where you're, like you said, we're not pulling 100 ROs every day, right? And you spend half your day looking at repair orders while who knows what's going on in the shop or in the service drive. Now it's 15 minutes. You get the data for the day. You look at your review, your tracking, boom. And now I can actually go run my business. And so I think it's efficiency and effectiveness. That's what technology has brought to us and what it should. If it doesn't, then why do we have it?
Yeah, right.
So what are some emerging technologies that you're starting to see, being utilized? I mean, we're seeing the data, but what are some of the things that are, I would say, getting people more involved in the process in the service department, as far as customers to techs or techs to customers, advisors to customers, and just getting everybody a little bit more even educated at some points in the process of what's taking place with their vehicles. So Bill, what do you kind of see as far as emerging technologies out there?
So I think I have probably the latest and greatest, best AI technology on the market, and it's actually a game changer. I was just on live called Indy Now. It's a news channel in Indianapolis yesterday morning talking about it. I have 26 billboards in Indianapolis now saying, "Come by for a complimentary safety inspection on your vehicle," because you can drive through my UVI machine, and UVI is under vehicle eye. It's AI technology, and what it does is it's an MRI of your vehicle. So it will scan the car top, bottom, up, down, in, out. It'll tell me what the date stamp is of the tire. Are they expired? Is there abnormal wear? Is there any nails? Is there any bulges? In the Subaru store alone, month to date, between yesterday, we had 37 tires that had bulges on the outside that were not picked up in the Express because they're hard to see with the naked eye, and the customer had no idea they were there. That's a safety problem. So UVI technology is the latest, greatest, newest thing. I'm putting a PDR tech in the drive because we're averaging just over 1,700 dents that are coming through this store right now. We had over 3,000 scuffed wheels at the Subaru store this month alone. So we have a wheel machine, a complete PDR department now lined up to pick up that type of work and offer our customers. So it'll text it out, send the link, give you 1,100 pictures, videos that you want of your vehicle within seconds of entering our service department. So that's the thing that's coming. We look at what's going on with the fixed ops department coming up with EV vehicles, and that shift in the change, and what are we going to do as technicians? And it's just shifting. And I think it's no different than when carburetors went away. We're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix cars? We don't have carburetors anymore. We used to overhaul these things. It was great. Paid 3.5 hours. I loved them. But there's always that next thing. We're still in business, and carburetors haven't been around a while. So I think that this thing is just giving us opportunities. It's showing things on vehicles that we just haven't paid attention to as technicians, as service advisors, that now we are. And we're giving a customer an opportunity because I've got dents in my car. It's like, I don't have time to deal with that. I'm not taking it to a body shop. But if you bring it into a service, somebody says, hey, I can fix that for $100. You want it done? Yeah, take care of it. Oh, the wheel, 200? Yeah, do it. Let's get it done while it's here. So it's being a little bit more convenient. And with us being able to text that video and picture out with some estimates through the UVI, they can schedule, they can come in at their own will. There's just no pressure. So 26 billboards all over the news market. It's on Facebook, LinkedIn. Go check it out. You'll see our little quick snapshot on Indy Now yesterday, Fox 59.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think AI first and foremost, whether it's through a marketing, through a UVI, like you're saying, texting platform, AI is definitely up and coming. And that's just across any business spectrum too. One of the things that I'm interested in, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on, is the kiosk-ish AI platform for advisors. In other words, some stores have a hard time getting advisors, keeping advisors, getting the right people. Is there an AI solution where clients could come in and interact with a kiosk or an AI person? One, you're going to get presented the same thing every time. So the presentation of the menu, it's a robot, does it, right? The multi-point, it's going to present everything every time. So one, the presentation is consistent to every customer. So seeing those being developed and seeing some of those that are in pilot right now has been pretty cool. And obviously some are working, some are a little rough. But you sit here and you think about, okay, in the fixed ops department, really what's my greatest three struggles, right? Getting parts is still a big struggle, right? But it's getting quality advisors, getting quality technicians. Well, if we can utilize technology some way to where we no longer have to find and hold quality advisors, and I'm not saying, and I say that and people go, oh, what about jobs? And just talking about technology coming out, to me, if we know that's the biggest three hurdles in fixed ops from a high level, and we can eliminate one clear out, might be something worth looking at. But I think AI in itself is definitely the next big thing. And talking about EV, it's the same thing when Honda came out with their A/B service and they got rid of the 3069. Went right. Everyone said, "Well, we're not going to make money on Hondas anymore." I'm like, well, what do you mean? They still need alignments, still need tires, they're still going to need brakes. They're still going to break at some point, right? And I think what happened was it was easy, and now what was easy is no longer easy. So how do we then make it more efficient, right? And how can we be more effective in utilizing that mind shift? And it's just like anything else, right? Change is inevitable. So we just have to be ready.
Yeah.
I could tell you, I mean, like the kiosk idea, when I'm sitting there writing service and you're trying to handle this customer, you're trying to call this customer back, and then 3 or 4 cars are starting to line up. I mean, that seems like it's not that I'm going to have to cut down on my advisors. It's just that, no, it's like when things get busy, we've got a more efficient process now that makes it more convenient for the customers to come in and kind of get it in tune with it, so to speak. I would say like it's not emerging, it's here and people are using it. My favorite piece of technology that I've seen so far as a consumer and as an automotive guy is video MPIs from technicians.
Yeah.
That has been a game changer, and to be, to take my vehicle in the shop and to hear the technician and to have the technician now. I mean, back in the old days, you remember the tech used to come out and talk to you, and that kind of went away. We started segregating that, and you stay in your lane, don't come up here looking all dirty and stuff. And the advisor, that's kind of changed the mindset again. So now it's like, it's bringing the technician, that's bringing the professional that's hands on your vehicle and it's showing you he's hands on in your vehicle. And then you've got an advisor to bounce back stuff off of questions you have. But I mean, for me, I mean, all this stuff has been amazing, but from a consumer standpoint, that really has hit me home is just those videos MPIs.
It takes it from a sales presentation to a show and tell. Because it's not an advisor calling you on the phone going, hey, we saw, hey, we think, hey, it's video of here's your torn axle boot, here's all the grease, this is how much it costs, I could have it done tomorrow. There's no sale, it's education, right? And I think if done properly, trained properly, right, like you have to have some sort of training and scripting, because there are technicians in the back that, one, might not want to be on camera. Two, I don't know if they should be, right? That's that catch-22 of, if he's a great technician, but you want to be really careful who he opens his mouth around or her mouth around. It's probably best to put on video, to each their own. But I think when you can physically show a customer, you don't have to sell it anymore, because it's broken. Now it's just a matter of, when can I get it done? Is the part available? When can I have it done for you?
Perfect. So this is going to start wrapping up the podcast for today. As of course I like to give my guests the final say. So James, what you got for us?
You got to care about your people, and if you are doing anything that could counteract that, stop. And if you're thinking about putting any processes or technologies in place that once again counteract that, so efficiency and effectiveness, take a second guess, right? But I think that's what I would, final thought.
Bill, what you got for me, brother?
Yeah, I think, mine is don't accept everybody's monkeys. I got enough monkeys on my back already. So, and listen, right? Just I think our employees and our team, they have the solutions, they have the answers already. They're just afraid to talk about it. And it could be because of you. It could be because you're not listening, or you snap at them, or you, oh yeah, I know, but shut up and listen and let them talk and take notes, active notes, and write down and pay attention, because they already know the answer and they're just waiting on you to help them out. So just kick it back at them.
Yeah, Bill, you better be careful, man. You're going to start getting emails from monkey advocates for too long.
I know, right? I got plenty of
Perfect,
monkeys.
guys. Well, gentlemen, thank you again for coming on the podcast. This will wrap it up for this episode. We'll catch you next time. Thank you for joining another episode of the Fuel Podcast. Always be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to be notified when new episodes are being dropped. And click the link below to review any of the show notes for additional information. Or you can email the Fuel Podcast with the link, as we encourage any feedback or any questions or comments from our listeners. Until next time, I'm your host, Alex Keys, with the Fuel Podcast for fixing underperformance and evolving leadership.